Committee on Student Achievement and School Innovation of the Board of School Directors will please come to order. Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Director Ferguson.
Present.
Director Fons.
Present.
Director Herndon.
Present.
Director Benoit.
Present.
And Chair Seamson.
Present.
That's 5 present. We have a quorum.
The Chair will now ask the Secretary to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. The Chair invites any members of the audience who wish to participate to do so and asks that those who do not wish to participate please remain silent during the pledge. This meeting is being held at the Central Services Building. This meeting is also broadcast on the MPS YouTube stream, the link to which may be found on the MPS website on the broadcast page. For our listening audience, if you wish to access this evening's agenda items and attachments online, you may do so by visiting the meetings, agendas, and minutes page of the MPS website. Before we begin tonight's meeting, we have a short announcement regarding interpretation services for the Spanish-speaking members of our audience.
Buenas tardes y bienvenidos a la Junta Escolar de las Escuelas Públicas de Milwaukee. Si deseas escuchar esta reunión en español, por favor llame al 312-626-6799. Otra vez, 312-626-6799. Introduzca el número de reunión 608-130-5362. Nuevamente, el número de reunión es 608-130-5362. Gracias.
I'm sorry, thank you. For each of our items of business, we will hold a discussion and public hearing. If you wish to speak, please fill out a speaker's slip and bring it to our Secretary, Dr. Owen Moore. We have no virtual speakers registered this evening, it appears. For the sake of fairness tonight and to give everyone a chance to speak, the Chair reserves the right to limit the length of time allowed to any one speaker. For the safety of all and to ensure the good order of the meeting, harassment or intimidation tactics of any kind will not be tolerated. Anyone who engages in such harassing or intimidating words or actions will immediately be asked to cease. If such behavior continues, a recess will be called and offending parties will be removed from the meeting. Anyone ejected from the meeting may continue to listen to the meeting or access the agenda items online. However, the individual will not be allowed to rejoin the meeting. And now, given that our focus this year is literacy, we have some help with our message from one of our young readers, Nyla, a 7th grader at Story School.
Welcome to tonight's committee meeting. The committee will accept public comments on tonight's agenda items. Speakers may only address the items for which they have registered. Questions from the public may not be answered during public comment period. Following public comment, the committee will begin its discussion, and no additional comments will be accepted. When you are called upon to speak, please state your name and spell your last name for the record. Like this: Tamika Jones, Jones. Written testimony will also be accepted for transmittal to the board. Send this testimony to the Office of Board Governance, P.O. Box 2181, Milwaukee, Wisconsin 53201, 2181. Or email it to governance@milwaukee.k12.wi.us. Just as a reminder, Robert Rules of Order dictates that all comments, questions, or requests should be directed to the chair, who will determine the most efficient way to address them. Also, no one other than members of the board, designated staff, and those who have been invited to present or participate in items of business will be allowed on stage before, during, or after meetings of the board and its committees.
Thank you, Nyla. Yeah, oh yes, very well done. Not easy to do. Thank you, Nyla. If you have a child that would like to read for the board meeting, send a message to governance@milwaukee.k12.wi.us. Now let's begin. Madam Secretary, item 1.
Madam Chair, item 1 is action on approval of areas to be opened for textbook study during the 2025-2026 school year for text to be used beginning with the 2026-2027 school year. The recommendation is that the board approve English Language Arts 9 through 12 to be opened for textbook study for text to be used during the 2026-2027 school year.
Thank you. Would the administration please present this item?
Chair Stevenson and members of the committee, Brenda Casselli, Superintendent, in accordance with MPS Administrative Policy and Procedure 7.26, the administration is required to identify subject areas where textbook adoptions have reached or exceeded 7 years of use and are due for review and possible replacement. As such, it's time to review English Language Arts grades 9 through 12. The review process will consider criteria such as the availability of high-quality bilingual materials, alignment with literacy and language development goals, and consistency with state standards and graduation requirements. This evening, I'm joined by Jennifer Mims-Howell and members of her team as we ask for your approval and to address any questions you may have for this item. I also wanted to make note that as our previous adoption for HMH will also need to be brought forward at another time for a version 3 in order to fully align it to Act 20 requirements. This item doesn't include that at this time, but we will bring that again at another date.
Great. Thank you so much for that update on that. We do have a speaker slip, so I'll go to that first. Could I please have Jay Bullock come forward?
Thank you, Jay Bullock, B-U-L-L-O-C-K. Chair Simpson, members of the committee, members of the administration. I am here to speak as a high school ELA department chair and how heartened I am at the work done by very many people in this room to make this item happen at this time. I do believe that this adoption, long overdue. The superintendent mentioned that materials that are more than 7 years out of date can be reconsidered. Our 10th and 11th grade curriculum is now more than 15 years out of date. I am also excited to have heard from some of our literacy coaches that the adoption would be considered as one textbook adoption for grades 9 through 12. I have been in this district for almost 30 years and we have never had that. Every year we would go to a textbook that was by a different publisher and it just didn't make sense. And I'm also eager to iron out a process to refresh our ELA elective curriculum in the coming years. It also desperately needs an update. It's been a long time since we've added courses, and it's been a long time since we've removed courses from the course catalog that were not being taught. I am also very heartened by the upcoming return of a high school licensed and experienced literacy coach to the Office of Academics. I think that is also a good sign, and again, something else that shows that the people in this room have respect for our high school English teachers. I am a little disappointed that administration hasn't been able to meet with the department chairs or the other teachers since last month's meeting, but I do look forward to be able to working that out at some time. In conclusion, I think this is a great idea and you definitely need to vote yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Do members of the committee wish to make comments or ask questions at this time? Seeing none, all righty. Then I think we're just, unless administration has any final words? Nope, all righty. What is the pleasure of the committee with respect to this item? Ms. Vanoy.
I move to approve the administration's recommendation for item, help me out, policy 7.26, textbook instructional material adoption.
Wonderful, thank you so much. If there's no further discussion, would Madam Secretary please call the roll?
On Director Vanoy's motion to approve the administration's recommendation regarding textbook adoption, Director Ferguson?
Aye.
Director Fons?
Aye.
Director Herndon?
Aye.
Director Vanoy?
Aye.
And Chair Simpson.
Aye.
That's 5 ayes, the motion passes.
Madam Secretary, next item, please.
Item 2 is report with possible action on the overview of assessments for SY 2025-26. This is an informational item, and although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Would administration please present this item?
Chair Simpson and members of the committee, Brenda Casselli as superintendent. This evening, members of my team will present to you an online of the district's assessment for the 2025-26 school year. The overview will address the purpose of assessments, testing times, and how assessment data informs instruction. To lead the presentation, I will now turn it over to Dr. Natalie Collins and Jennifer Mims-Howell. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair Simpson, members of the committee. I'm Dr. Natalie Collins, Director of Research Assessment and Data. I'm joined by my colleague, Dr. Bel Jimenez, Academic Superintendent for Literacy. I'm here tonight to provide an overview of assessments for the 2025-26 school year and respond to questions raised at last month's committee meeting. My goal is to show you that assessment, when done correctly, doesn't take away from instruction, it drives instruction. Imagine you're going on a road trip, but there's no road signs, no map, and no GPS. You have no real way to know if you're headed in the right direction. That is what learning in a classroom would be like without assessments. Assessment in Milwaukee Public Schools is the essential navigation on a student's learning journey. It helps us guide instruction and ensure every student reaches their destination. As you can see from the graphic, assessment is not separated from instruction. It's part of a continuous cycle where curriculum, instruction, and assessment are all connected. Assessment is simply feedback to the teacher about the impact of their instruction, and feedback about what a student knows and is able to do. In short, assessment's not a roadblock, it's our compass and our map. To see how this works, I'm going to break down our balanced assessment system into key categories. First, let's discuss assessments for learning, which are often called formative assessments. Think of these as GPS, or real-time navigation for our road trip. These are quick, informal checks teachers use every single day during the teaching and learning process. They are vital because they give immediate feedback to the teacher, helping them answer the most important question: how's the lesson going right now? This data doesn't necessarily go into a grade book, but it directly guides the very next steps of instruction. It tells the teacher whether they need to reroute and reteach a concept, or if the class is ready to accelerate to the next skills. This is how we ensure our teaching is responsive and student-centered. Assessments of learning, or summative assessments, are like our destination signposts. They signal the end of the leg of a journey, and they typically occur at the end of a unit, semester, or the school year. These assessments serve the crucial purpose of evaluating students' final understanding by comparing their achievement against a standard. This data is critical for accountability. It's used for student grading, and it fulfills specific federal, state, and board policy requirements. More broadly, these results help us gain insights into our students' progress towards meeting grade level standards. All of this data works together to paint a complete picture of our students, helping us inform instruction at the classroom, school, and district levels. For a complete breakdown of specific assessments, please refer to the detailed overview handout I provided in the attachments to this presentation.
We have, hello. Yeah. Gabriel Jimenez, Academic Superintendent for Literacy, Director Sims, members of the board, good evening. A lot of the conversations that we have had related to assessments are directly connected to how is it that we're making sense of literacy and how is it that our students are learning how to read and write. So over the next 2 slides, I'm just going to spend a couple of minutes going over that. A very, very important hallmark that is necessary to ensure that we are providing the right instruction for our students on the onset is delivered through understanding how students are performing on our universal screeners. Our universal screeners are proactive probes that help us to understand how it is that students are currently performing, and it provides us with information on how is it that students are going to perform in the future if we do not take steps for it. So universal screeners help us see a little bit into future achievement for students, and they're really important. In the state of Wisconsin, through Act 20, we are mandated to engage in universal screeners for students. So you can see here that for 4K to grade 3, we are looking at Ames Web as the probe to be able to make a sense of that. universal screeners are really, really, really important. So we also engage in collecting literacy information at the screener level for grades 4 through grade 8. Once we have had the universal screeners, then it will make sense for us, for the students that for whom we now have a concern that if we are not ensuring that we are taking steps in relationship to universal instruction, that they are not going to perform well in the future, we then take action by running diagnostic tools, because the universal screener will only tell us, pay additional attention to this baby. Okay, the diagnostic tool will tell us exactly what are the steps or what are the skills that we need to be attending to. For K-5, Ames Web provides us also with an opportunity to engage in some diagnostics as well of iReady. And iReady is a really robust tool that also allows us to diagnose from grades 1 through grade 8. Can we go to the next one? Perfect. We also have summative assessments. We want to be sure that the learning that our students are engaging in is supporting us into achieving grade level proficiency at the rigor of the standards. So we engage in summative assessments that are a cumulative snapshot for grades 3 to 10 through the Wisconsin Forward. And for our language learners, we engage in an assessment that allows us to see how English levels of proficiency are progressing over time through the access test. We also use curricular-based measures, right? Because can you imagine if we were only to check universal screeners and diagnostic, we also need to know how it is that the daily Tier 1 instruction takes place. So we have CBMs, or curricular-based measures. The instructional guidance that has been released up to this point for the 25-26 school year creates meaningful predictive opportunities every 4 weeks in elementary and every 5 weeks in middle school to be able to collect data in relationship to how students are performing on reading, writing, and word recognition for the standards and the skills that have been taught for the 4 weeks prior for that specific unit.
I know that one of the primary, Chair Simpson, members of the committee, Natalie Collins, Director of Research Assessment and Data. I know that one of the primary concerns that we hear about is overall time spent on testing. We've conducted a thorough review of the federal, state, and district-required assessments and calculated district-wide averages that you see here. These averages were calculated conservatively by pairing the lowest available instructional hours at a grade level or school, but then using the highest testing times across the different assessments and the grade levels. So this means the figures represent the maximum possible impact on instruction time rather than the typical experience. You see the results here. For the 25-26 school year, the district-wide average for total minutes of required testing is 563, or 9.4 hours. And this is a K-3 through 12th grade district-wide average. This represents less than 1%, or 0.83% of scheduled instructional hours over the given course of the school year. I want to put this in perspective. On average, the students are spending less than 1% of scheduled instruction time on these mandated tests. If we look at an 8th grade student, that's the grade level with the highest impact. They spend on an average of 21.8 hours of the year testing, which is 1.93% of instructional time. When compared to the Council of Great City Schools, who did a finding, it is from 2015, of 8th grade students, they showed that they devote up to 25 hours per year on standardized tests, or about 2.34% of instructional time. So our students are still spending less time on these required assessments than their peers across council districts. There's multiple factors that contribute to testing duration. It's important to understand that the duration of the test is not just about the number of questions a student's being asked. As the graphic shows, test duration is impacted by a variety of factors, including the student's proficiency and comfort level with the subject, their motivation to complete the assessment, the actual test length, and the subject matter itself. That's why we focus our efforts on maximizing the value of the time we do spend on testing, which leads us to the changes that we've made for this school year. New for 25-26, we're continually refining our assessment practices to ensure that they're efficient, yet they yield actionable data and align directly with our instruction. This year's key changes reflect our commitment to focusing resources where they matter most. I've grouped these updates into two categories: streamlining and efficiency, and enhancing instructional focus. In regards to streamlining and efficiency, this is like using the express lane on our road trip, right? It's a quicker, smarter route by eliminating redundancy. And we implemented a reduction in required testing for students in early childhood grades. The elimination of the Brigance assessment for K3 to K5 allows teachers to focus on fundamental skill development in these critical years. We also enacted an elimination of universal screening in grades 9 through 12. Comprehensive data already provided by course history, grades, and the pre-ACT, ACT suite frees up valuable class time for our high school students towards working towards graduation. We shifted from STAR to iReady, which moves us to a single integrated system where diagnostics, data, and instructional resources live together, providing teachers with a more cohesive, robust, and powerful tool set. Enhancing instructional focus is about clear modern highway signs or painted lane dividers on the road, which provide unambiguous direction. For this, we implemented a shift from monthly progress monitoring to monitoring success on personalized instruction lessons in MyPath. Instead of monthly testing, progress monitoring is now embedded directly into personalized lessons, providing teachers with real-time data on the specific skills being taught, making instruction immediately responsive. Per Act 20, we now administer additional probes for fall screening at first grade on the Ames Web Plus. This small addition provides earlier and deeper insight into foundational literacy skills, allowing for the earliest possible intervention to ensure reading success. Finally, we are rolling out essential standards assignments and district checkpoints. These shorter curriculum-based measures measure the mastery of the most critical standards at specific points in the curriculum, ensuring alignment across the district, measurement of our pacing, and providing a clear focus for instruction. I want to talk next a little bit more about why iReady, and I want to address the shift directly. When our STAR contract ended, we reviewed our tools, considered student outcomes, and our operational audit and fiscal priorities. Our data already confirms which students need support. We need more than a report. We needed tools that actively drove teaching and learning. So we looked at integration of actionable data. STAR was limited. It didn't connect results to curriculum or instructional resources. The iReady diagnostic is adaptive, untimed, and drills down to specific skill needs. It connects immediately to resources. Every student now gets a personalized on-learning pathway, and teachers in grades K through 8 gain access to ready-to-use lessons. There was also Act 20 compliance and alignment. iReady is on the DPI's recommended list of diagnostic tools, meaning it meets state requirements. And since it's already our K-5 math curriculum, it ensures consistency between assessment, curriculum instruction, and intervention. Yes, the iReady diagnostic is longer than STAR, averaging at about 50 minutes, but that time is regained by eliminating monthly progress monitoring and duplicate testing. This results in more time spent on instruction. We also looked at fiscal responsibility. In the 24-25 school year, STAR cost the district $600,000. By moving solely to iReady, the assessment cost for iReady was $291,000. So that was a savings of over $308,000. This shift embodies our core philosophy. Assessment is not an isolated activity, but an integral part of instruction itself. It's a comprehensive system that aligns with everything, ensures compliance, and provides equitable support while reducing cost. The assessment team is providing support and training through recorded trainings available on LMS. They're also holding weekly office hours every Wednesday for an hour in the morning and an hour in the afternoon. They've created an iReady Google site that has a plethora of information that was jointly created by staff from assessment, intervention, and the teaching and learning team in order to provide information and clarity to staff and schools. Every change we've made is done with the goal of creating more streamlined, focused, and instructionally powerful assessment system for the benefit of teachers and students. In conclusion, assessment is a critical tool that ensures we're providing the most effective, targeted instruction possible for every student on their educational journey in Milwaukee Public Schools. Thank you, and at this time, we'll take any questions that you have.
Thank you so much. Madam Secretary, do we have any speaker slips on this item?
We do not.
All right, and we already know there's no public speakers, so, I guess we do.
We do.
No, I just have the one. Well, why don't you make your way to the podium? We do have a speaker slip. Ingrid Henry Walker.
Thank you. Ingrid Walker Henry, WALKER-HENRY. I am speaking as the president of the Milwaukee Teachers Education Association. The PowerPoint graph of assessment times is inaccurate. Elementary testing times this fall have increased 50 to 100% across all content areas. MPS is requiring assessments that are not mandated by the state in science, social studies, and literacy. The graph represented tonight does not include the extra non-mandated assessments that MPS is requiring. First, MPS did not meet and confer with the MTEA, the union representing teachers, about these non-mandated assessments. Second, MPS imposed these non-mandated assessments without considering the wide array of school programs and curriculum across the district. Again, had MPS engaged in a meet and confer process with MTEA, we would have addressed this in advance. In 1 week in September, following the MPS pacing guides for 3rd grade, the students were forced to be tested for 630 minutes. That is 10 and a half hours of testing in 1 week. And I'm going to say it again, 10 and a half hours of testing in 1 week. This is developmentally inappropriate. The administration's rollout of literacy for the 25-26 school year remains in crisis, and it remains unworkable for teachers. Administration hasn't created clear literacy modules with integrated assessments. Teachers have had no hard copy manual to work from. They're forced to print everything out. MPS launched a survey on the October 8th Literacy PD and the October 16th MPS Express. MTA had no knowledge of the existence of the survey, and when we found out it was closed. It closed in under 1 week. MTA is asking the board to intervene. The literacy modules must be redesigned to make them usable by teachers, and the only way to do that is to have MTEA at the table. The literacy survey must be reopened for 2 weeks, and principals must be given the directive to present this survey to the staff during administrative meeting time. After completion of the literacy PD survey, those responses must be shared with MTEA and with the board. Immediate meet and confer on district non-mandated assessments is necessary, and this presentation needs to be revised and brought back to the board, covering all mandated and non-mandated assessment across grade and content areas.
Thank you. Do we have, I think that was the only speaker slip, so we are back to committee. Would any members of the committee care to ask some questions or make comments? Director Fonz?
Do we have a response to the non-mandated testing and the accuracy of the slide?
Administration?
Chair Simpson, Director Fonz, Natalie Collins, Director of Research Assessment and Data. The slide is accurate for the federal, state, and board required assessments that you see in the overview attachment that was provided. So that would include what we see. I'm going to go in alphabetical order and just read it very quickly. That would include the ACT taken at 11th grade, the Ames Web taken K4 through 3rd grade, the civics test required for earning a high school diploma at the high school grades, COGAT at the second grade level, the dynamic learning maps, which is the alternative state assessment in grades 3 through 11, the iReady diagnostic in grades 1 through 8, the NAEP assessment, or the National Assessment of Educational Progress, the 8th grade on-demand writing, the pre-ACT secure, the WIDA access, and the Wisconsin Forward exam.
Thank you. And for the listening audience, that is, all of those tests are in one of the attachments if you happen to be looking for that. Director Franz, do you have a follow-up?
So do we have a direct response to why we're doing so much non-mandated assessment then?
Administration?
Director Funds, members of the board, thank you for the question. Teaching and learning require us to be able to understand timely how is it that the students are responding to the teaching that we are doing. Absolutely, at the end of every module or every unit, there are intentional opportunities for the teachers to be able to collect data on how it is that the students are performing on reading, writing, and word recognition, because it is the only way in which we can have certainty that what we're teaching is what the students are learning. And it is the only way in which we can intelligently adjust our teaching. So yes, every single module creates these opportunities for us to be able to collect this data.
Director Franz, a follow-up?
I don't think the problem is with assessment in and of itself, but it's the excessive amount of assessment. I think that was to Ms. Walker-Hendry's point about how many hours. Teachers are assessing all the time, every minute of the day, right? Every hour. So we talk about like how much teacher time we have, and if we're constantly assessing in a way that's taking away from instruction. And I think that's the overall point that I think Ms. Walker-Henry was getting to.
Any administration
Director
response?
Stevenson, Director Fonz, I will be sure to meet with Ms. Henry Walker and her staff on assessments and make sure that we can problem solve. This was not brought to my attention. I will absolutely meet with them and make sure that we are meeting and conferring with them around our assessment in the future.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That would be appreciated.
And I appreciate the feedback.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Great. That's how we grow. Any other comments from members of the board or questions? No? Okay. Thank you. I guess at some point, definitely not next month, but just down the road, if we could maybe have the, revisit assessment just to kind of look at any tweaks that we might be making or adjustments. And again, no specific, timeline on that, but just at some point down the road, just a little, follow-up, I guess, to this conversation and the work that we do from that point. All right, thank you. All right, I believe that is it then. No other comments, questions? Okay. Madam Secretary, next item, please.
Madam Chair, item 3 is report with possible action on academic standards. This is an informational item, and although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Would administration please present this item?
Chair Stevenson and members of the committee, Brenda Caselli, Superintendent. This evening, the administration, in accordance with Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction, is noticing the board on the academic standards for FY26. This is strictly a notice as the standards are set by state and do not differ from the standards reported last year from FY25. Thank you.
Do we have any speaker slips on this item?
We do not.
All right. Do committee members have any comments or questions that they would like to ask? All right, oh, no, okay, I see none. All right, thank you. I guess we don't have to vote on this. Nope, it's just an informational item. So, Madam Secretary, next item, please.
Madam Chair, that was the last item on this meeting's agenda.
Well, oh, go ahead, Director Funds.
I just have one update. Brewers won, Dodgers won. Third inning.
I did too for a moment there. I was like, what? Thank you for that important update. And with that, we will end the shortest SASI meeting on record ever. Have a great night, everybody.